Welcome to all of you. We are in the middle of discussing lectures related to industrial engineering. So our topic for today is facility design. Facility design is an important aspect of industrial engineering. Let's begin the lecture with the help of an example. Suppose we want to make a home. We have to take so many decisions that in which city our home should be located, in which zone of the country our home should be located. So starting from the zone, we come on to a particular city, we zero in on a particular city that my home should be located in this particular city. Then within the city also there may be so many localities, so many different areas where I can place my home. Then after selecting the zone of the country and selecting the appropriate city within the country, I have to take a decision that at what particular locality, in which particular locality I should place my home. So many factors would be guiding me, so many criteria would be used to select an appropriate location for my home. Similarly, as an entrepreneur or as an industrialist, a decision has to be taken where to plan a facility, where to locate a facility, or where to locate an factory or a industry. The industrialist takes a decision that in which state he is going to place his industry or his factory, and within the state also at what particular border or at the center of the state he is going to place his factory. So all these decisions have to be taken by a particular industrialist or by a particular chief executive officer of the company regarding the location of his factory. So not only we have to locate, but we have to design. So once we have decided that this is the area where we are going to place our factory or our industry, we have to design the layout of the industry. So there are different types of layouts, like we may have a process type of layout, we may have a product type of layout, fixed position layout, cellular layout, different types of layouts are there, and an appropriate decision has to be taken. For example, we have again reverting back to our initial example of placing our home in a particular locality of a city. So coming on from the zone of the country to a particular city, and within the city also coming on to appropriate locality, we know that in this locality, in such and such area I am going to place my home. Now when the area has been identified, I have to see what is going to be the layout of my home. How many bedrooms I have to place, how many kitchens, how many washrooms, and whether it will be a single story or a double story. So all those decisions are the layout decisions, that where the rooms would be located, where the kitchen would be located. So it is basically the bird's eye view of the home, that at which particular place, which particular facility has been set up, or which particular shop or which particular room or kitchen or washroom has been set up. So kitchen, washroom are the examples of a layout of a home. Whereas different shops, different offices and different other recreational areas, housing, buildings, all those things would form a layout of a organization or a industry. So in these lectures, maybe on facility design, we will see that what are the factors that govern the facility design, what are the factors that influence the facility design, what is facility design at the outset, and then we will see what are different types of layouts and what are the various factors that have to be taken into account in deciding the type of layout. So layout selection is also equally important. So in today's lecture, we are going to start our discussion related to the facility design. So facility location. Location can be defined as a place to put something. Now I have given you an example. A place to put something means a place to put your home. From the industry perspective, we can say a place to put your factory or a place to put your industry. So location can be defined as a place to put something. So it is a kind of a area at which we want to develop our facilities. Then facility location means a place to put the facility. So coming on from a place to put something, we are now coming on to place in which we want to develop our facility. Now that facility can be a manufacturing facility, that facility can be a service sector facility. Now service sector facilities, I mean to say, it can be a bank, it can be a hospital, it can be any other public serving institution. So we have to take appropriate decision that at which particular location we should set up a facility, so that the purpose for which the facility has been set up or the facility has been developed is solved. Sometimes the purpose is maximizing the profit from the industry perspective, and on the other hand, if we talk about certain service sector industry or service sector facility like hospital, our main aim is for social service, or the main aim is that we should be able to serve the society. So a societal cause has to be seen, that whether we are locating the facility in such an area where it is going to be beneficial for the people of that particular area. Sometimes there are certain areas which are underdeveloped, so we have to take a decision that if we put such and such facility at such and such place, the overall development of the area would take place. So all these things have to be taken into account when we decide on setting a facility at a particular location. So facility location means to place or put the facility at a appropriate location or in an appropriate area. Now coming on to the facility location, decisions are strategic, long term and non-repetitive in nature. So a huge amount of capital is involved in setting up a facility. For example, you see, if an auto manufacturer plans to set up his manufacturing plant in one particular state of the country, a huge amount of capital is involved in that. So it's a strategic issue. In the previous class also I have told that there are three different levels of management: top level management, middle level management and lower level management. So the basic elements of top level management are that the decisions or the planning that is done at the top level of the management is a long term planning, and the issues related are strategic in nature, and these are high risk involving issues. So at high level management, this decision is taken that at which particular location we have to set up a facility. So the issues related are strategic in nature, the issues related involve very high risk, as well as the issues related are non-repetitive in nature most of the times. Why? Because once a decision at the top level of the management has been taken to set up a facility at an appropriate location or at a specific location, then it is very difficult, and as it is going to amount to a huge amount of loss if you shift the location from one place to another place. So facility location decisions are strategic, means it involves a huge amount of strategic thinking, and they are long term. Already I have told that it is a long term decision. It is not that for 6 months you place your facility at one particular point and then again you pick up everything related to that facility and shift it to some other place. And third important thing is that these are non-repetitive type of decisions that are taken. So all these decisions are taken at a very higher level of the management. So higher level means top level management decisions are taken if we want to take a decision related to location of a facility at a particular point or in a particular area. Now we come on to, we have seen that it is very important, it is a strategic issue, it is a high risk involving issue, it is a non-repetitive type of decision. If we are not able to take an appropriate decision that where to locate the facility, then it may result into certain kind of unavoidable circumstances. So without sound location planning in the beginning, the new facility may pose continuous operating disadvantages for the future operation. Now if we have not taken an appropriate decision while beginning to take a decision related to location of the facility at the very onset only, what I mean to say here is that when we have started to think in that direction that where we have to place our facility, we are not taking all the factors into consideration, we are not considering all the criteria that is that is decisive in for us to take a decision related to the location of the factory. Then if certain criteria, certain factors are missed while the decision is being made, then at a later stage we may have to repent and we may be in a disadvantageous position and may incur a huge amount of losses, because once the facility has been created, it is going to generate, if it is a manufacturing facility, huge amount of products will be made, and because of the wrong selection of the location, we may not be able to minimize the total cost involved in the manufacturing of that particular product. So this would result in a non-competitive position in the market. If our product that we are manufacturing is being manufactured in a location which is not advantageous for the company, and the total cost involved in manufacturing that product is much more as compared to our competitors, then our product will not be able to hold a substantial share in the market or substantial market share, and we would be incurring a huge amount of loss. So the appropriate decision related to locating our facility at a most optimal point within the country and in a particular state is very, very important for the well-being of our industry or factory or organization or institution. Now facility location. Location decisions are affected by many factors, both internal and external, to the organization's operation. So according to the organization operation, there may be certain internal factors and certain external factors, and the decisions related to the location of the factory are affected by both of these. There will be certain internal factors that would be influencing the decision. There would be certain external factors that would be influencing the decision. Now let us see one by one that what are these factors that influence the decision making related to the location of a facility. Now internal factors are on your screen, you can see, include the technology used, the capacity, the financial position and the workforce required. Now these are the internal factors which are within the organization. Now let us take an example of a manufacturing plant. So the first point is the technology used. So what kind of technology would be used for manufacturing the final products from the raw material? So that is an internal factor that will help us or that will guide us for appropriate selection of a location. Now how we can say that? Now suppose we are trying to put a industry which is a textile industry or yarn manufacturing industry. So we require an area where the humidity is more. So the technology is such that it requires high humidity area. So that kind of technology for yarn manufacturing requires a controlled environment. So wherever we have that kind of environment already available, we can choose that particular area for the location of our textile industry. So that would be helpful in maintaining the environment. So if we place this such kind of a facility in an area where that kind of humidifying environment is not possible, what is going to happen is artificially we would have to maintain that kind of a condition of the air or that kind of artificial environment, and for that we will have to spend a huge amount of money. So if we place the factory in such an area where that humidifying requirement is less because the environment is already quite humid or the climate is such that we have a relative humidity very high, in those circumstances what is going to happen is the money that we are spending in maintaining an artificial environment would be considerably less. So that kind of technology, if it is there, then we can make use of this technology and the appropriate selection of the location, and we can save some money for the company. Similarly, the capacity, that what is the capacity? Is that amount of area available? What capacity we want to set up? Already we have taken certain lectures on capacity planning 1 and capacity planning 2, in which we have seen that what do we mean by capacity and how capacity is going to influence the location of the industry. So when we know that this is the capacity, then this will be an internal factor for deciding that where to locate our factory. Now third factor is the financial position of the company. that is also going to influence the location of the industry. And the workforce required, maybe financial position and capacity, these are two factors which are not that significant, but the labor force and the technology are the two relatively more important factors that those govern the appropriate location selection of the industry. The labor force required. Now suppose we want to place a factory which require high skilled labor force. We cannot plan to set up such a facility in a countryside area or at a distant location from a metropolitan city. Why? Because the skilled labor force may not be that interested to be relocated to such a facility at a distance from the metropolitan city. So we can think of planning a industry or a factory or a organization which require high skilled labor, maybe in the vicinity of metropolitan cities, so that the highly skilled labor force may be living in the big cities, and for their work they may venture out maybe 20 kilometers, 25, 30, 35 kilometers outside the city, and then by evening they can come back to their houses. So the kind of labor force required in the organization or in the factory or in the enterprise is very important in deciding that where should a plant be located or where should the factory be located. There are numerous examples like the software industry, where the software industry is mushrooming because it requires high skilled labor force. Similarly, there are certain auto manufacturers, there are certain manufacturing companies, and if we look into the intricacies of their location, we would be able to very easily understand that why these particular factories or industry has been located in such and such area, what are the factors governing their location. So the kind of labor force, because usually we say that the industry is run by the manpower, not by the machines. We may have the most sophisticated machines available with us, but until and unless we have the right kind of people to manage those machines, we will not be able to generate a huge amount of profit for our organization. So manpower and the appropriate availability of the manpower is very important for deciding a location of an factory or an enterprise. So these are the internal factors, the kind of manpower required, the kind of finances available, the kind of technology that they are using. So all these factors club under the broad umbrella of internal factors that govern the selection of a location of an enterprise. Then we come on to the next important factor, those are the external factors. So these include the economic, political and social conditions in the various localities. So this is also very important. So let's first come to the economic condition. Certain times whenever we want to place our industry in a very poor area of the country, so we will be able to get the workforce very easily, and this labor cost that is being added to the total cost of the product would also be less, because we are getting the labor at a substantially lower rate when we are placing our industry in a very poor area. So wherever we find that the people are easily available and they are unemployed also, we are giving them work, they are also getting benefited, then the economic condition of that particular area is improving. Moreover, the competitive position of the organization is also improving, because they are able to make the product at a considerably lower price, because the labor force is easily available and at a cheaper rate. So that is the economic condition which will govern the selection of a location. Similarly, we can say that if we place our industry in an area where the labor is very scanty, means there are less number of people available to work. In those circumstances, as there is a dearth of labor, the rates will be high, and when the rates will be high, this labor charges will add on to the total cost of the product, and the total cost of the product will be high and it may not be competitive in the market. So we have seen both the conditions, where the labor force is available in huge amount, we are using that labor force. On the contrary, we have seen that the labor force is not available, then this is going to result in a non-competitive position of the industry. So there are other economic factors also, like we can say that if the economy of a particular state is booming, For example, we have seen most of the software industries are putting their plants or putting their enterprise in one particular state of the country only. So they feel that all the kind of infrastructure that is required is available, so the economy is at a high. Moreover, there may be certain areas where the economy is not that good, means the government policies are not that good. So the companies may not try to enter into that particular area of the country, so that they are not able to make the profit. So basic aim of every company is to make profit. So they will see that where the economic conditions are good, where they can make the profit, and then they would try to venture into that particular area. So these are certain points, like economic points are there. Similarly, we have certain political points also. For example, certain governments may frame certain policies to invite the industry to their particular state. So maybe they may be providing electricity at a cheaper rate, they may be providing certain other facilities like tax holidays. Then there are certain other advantages being offered by these governments. So this is a political condition. There may be different governments in a country. Certain particular governments give certain incentives, they invite the industry to set up their plants. So when the company comes and sets up the plant, the overall area development takes place, the societal development takes place, people gets employment. So people who are not having employment, who are unemployed, may seek employment in any of these industry. Moreover, there are other small scale industry that may develop because of a big industry coming to an area. Similarly, there may be taxis that may be required, some educational institutions that may get benefited because of the location of such an industry. So the government or the political interference may be helpful in the location of an industry in a particular area. So when the political leaders feel that they have to set up industry in their particular state, and they feel that the government should provide certain incentives for the industry to come and set up their plants in their area, which is going to lead to a society upliftment of their particular state or that particular area, these policies are going to be benefited by the company also. The company will also get benefited, as well as the people of the area would also get benefited. So these are certain political implications of the society, of the location of a plant. Similarly, the social conditions already I have told, the society upliftment may take place because of the setting of a industry in some particular area. So these three important points are the external points, being the economic, the political and the social conditions that govern our decision related to the setting up of an industry in a particular area. So we have seen that it is not that easy to set up a plant in a particular area. So we have to take a decision, and we have to consider so many different factors. Some factors may be internal factors related to the industry, and on the contrary, there are certain external factors. So we have taken with examples, maybe some of the examples might not have been too relevant, but these are the examples which help us to understand that the facility location decision is not as simple as possible. There are so many different criteria, so many different factors that we have to consider when we decide on a particular location that the facility will be developed in such and such location. Although we have seen only 3-4 important factors, there may be so many other factors which we may have to decide when we may have to finally make a decision related to location of the plant. So we have seen, now we will subsequently carry forward the discussion, and we will further try to get into the intricacy of the problem of facility location and facility design. So facility location deals with determining the optimal location for one or more new facilities to serve a set of customers. Now we can say this, already we know why facility location decision is very important. So location planning deals with determining the optimal location. So optimal location means, why I would like to address this word optimal. Optimal means that the company or the organization which is setting up a facility at a particular location, it should also get benefited, because no company is doing business to make loss. So the optimal location means that the company which is setting up a facility should also get benefited. Moreover, the people or for the other subsequent industry for which this facility is being developed, they should also get benefited. For example, we say a hospital is being developed by a private company or by a private player in the business. So he would like, or the company would like, that the hospital should be such located that it is able to cater to the maximum people of that particular society, and it should always make profit. Moreover, from the society point of view, more and more people should be able to access that hospital. Its location should be such that more and more people should be benefited by that particular facility which has been set up. So optimal location for one or more new facilities to serve a set of customers. So customers here are the people, and the facility we can say is the hospital. So the location should be such that both the parties should get benefited. The person or the company that is setting up the facility should also get the profit, and for the customer for whom this facility is being set up should also get benefited. Let's take another example, like a company wants to set up their service center. For example, an auto manufacturing company wants to set up their service center. So if they set a service center maybe 20 kilometers outside the city, nobody is going to visit 20 kilometers to get their vehicle checked. They may visit to some vendor who or some person who is not authorized to do the service, because they do not want to travel 20 kilometers and then come back 20 kilometers, because that would not be beneficial, or they may not get benefited by the service center which is placed 20 kilometers outside the city. But if that service center is located inside the city, then these people who are the customers will also get benefited, and the company that is setting up the auto service station will also get benefited, because they will have more number of customers now. So these are very obvious things, but certain times the companies, they are not able to make a judicious decision regarding the location of the particular facility. So certain other constraints, like the financial constraints, already we have seen that the land or the area that is required to set up that facility may be very costly if you plan that facility within the city, and the land may be cheaper at a distance of 15 or 20 kilometers from the city. So a kind of break-even analysis has to be done, and a decision has to be made that which facility, and as we have already seen that this is a very strategic issue. It is a long term issue, it is a non-repetitive issue. So we have to take a decision that down the line, maybe 10 years from now, if we place this service center within the city, we would be able to make so much of profit. Whereas if we place this service station, because now we may feel that the land that we are getting 10 kilometers outside the city is cheaper, but maybe after 10 years so much of competition would be there, nobody would be liking to go to that distance. So that long term that facility may not be of use, but today we feel that as the land is cheaper, we would be able to get more land. So these are certain decisions, very tricky decisions which have to be taken, and certain tools and techniques that we will see in facility location help us to decide that which location would be better. So optimal location has to be always chosen, which is beneficial to both the parties, which is stated in the very first point on your screen. Now coming on to the second point, this type of problem arises in many areas, such as location of a manufacturing facility, storage facility, etc. Location planning may involve finding the best site for the plant, which is termed as plant location. So location planning, already we have seen that we have to take a decision. It is a decision making process in which we have to take a decision that where should we locate our facility, which may be a manufacturing plant or a service sector providing facility. This kind of problem may arise in case of a manufacturing plant. This may arise in a storage facility. For example, we say that there is a big showroom in the heart of the city. Now the showroom space is limited, they have to place or store their other materials, maybe they have to manage a warehouse. So the showroom may be of electronic items. So they cannot keep all the electronic items in the showroom. So they have to maintain a warehouse or a storage place at a distance from their showroom. So if they decide on making a showroom at a centrally located place, and now they decide that the distance between the showroom and the storage facility should not be that much, and they require huge amount of floor area to manage that store. So within the city heart they may not be able to get that much area at a considerably nominal prices or at a optimal price. So what they can decide is they can think of placing their warehouse at a distance from the showroom, because showroom is placed in one of the busiest market and the storage place can be at a distance, because this is not a thing or this is not a kind of a product which the customer would readily want, that to now only I have ordered, just now I want it. Maybe you can say certain particular samples of the products may be there in the showroom, the customer selects the product and then the delivery can be done from the storehouse. So we are saving certain amount of money which would have gone into managing the floor space in the most busiest of the market in a very big city. So such type of decisions always help an entrepreneur or a businessman in saving the money. So all these things have to be taken into account, but these decisions are very tricky and sometimes certain industrialists or certain entrepreneurs fail in making these type of decisions and later on they may incur huge amount of losses. So this facility location decision or location planning may involve finding the best site for the plant, which is termed as the plant location. So we have taken a decision that such and such location would be best for setting up a plant, maybe with the help of certain criteria, with the help of certain factors that we have already considered, the internal factors, the external factors, and considering all these factors, then an appropriate decision has to be taken related to the plant location. Now as we have already decided that the location of the plant would be in such and such territory, in such and such area, in such and such zone of the country, then after selection of the particular area, we have to decide that within the plant how the facilities would be located. That once the area has been decided, and now we have to decide that within the area this is a particular point that where we are going to establish our factory. Now within the factory also we have to take a decision, like you can see, location planning may also involve deciding the location of each specific piece of machinery and equipment in a particular area of a facility. Now the facility location decision has already been taken, that the facility would be located suppose in city X, and within city X this would be located in particular area, maybe PQ area. So we know that the location of the facility would be city X and it would be in PQ area. Now within that area also, when we have a specific piece of land available with us, we have to take a decision that where a particular machinery would be set up, where would the houses for the workers would be set up, where would be the recreational creativity activities be set up. So all these decisions also have to be made. Also we have to decide that which type of layout we are going to follow. So different types of layouts are there, already I have named them, once again I will name so that you are mentally ready to understand those type of layouts. So product layout, process layout, fixed position layout, then we also have a cellular type of layout. So we will see what are these type of layouts, where the facilities are located, what are the salient advantages and disadvantages of these type of layouts, that all these things we are going to understand. But till now we have seen that there are number of factors which govern the appropriate location of a facility, and then within the facility we have to see that where the particular areas or services would be provided within the facility. When does a facility location decision arise, or plant location? So facility location or plant location, one is the same thing, that where should we locate our plant. So when these type of decisions we have to take, it may arise when a new facility is to be located. So already whatever we have been discussing for the last half an hour or so is when we have to take a decision that where we have to establish our plant. It is a new plant. So it may arise when a new facility is to be located. Whenever we decide that in the market there is a need of such and such product and we are the manufacturers of the related products, we want to venture into manufacturing of that particular product for which there is a huge amount of demand in the market or huge demand in the market. We now have to decide that where should we locate our plant. So it is a new plant or new facility that we want to create, and then we have to make a judicious decision depending upon a large amount of factors or large criterion, and on the basis of those criterion we will decide that okay, this is the best position from where we would always be in an advantageous position. For example, another thing that comes to my mind is that whenever there is a war between two countries, each country or the army of each country would always like to hold certain advantageous positions. Why? Because from those locations or those positions they would be able to strike the enemy and they would be able to satisfy their basic aim of winning the battle. Similarly, whenever a company decides on a particular location, they have this thing in their mind. Their aim is, their goal is, their objective is to maximize their profits and minimize the costs involved in manufacturing their product. So whenever a company is making a decision, they would always like, whenever a new facility has to be created, they would always like to see that which particular location will result into minimum costs to the company and would result in maximum profit to the company. So facility location decision arises whenever a company decides to set up a new facility. But it is not the only case when we have to decide when we have to take such a decision or when we have to decide that we are going to place a facility in such and such locality. There are other times, there are other circumstances also where we have to take a decision related to the location of a facility. So what are those circumstances? Like in some cases, a poor site restricts the facility or plant operations and subsequent expansions, thereby necessitating setting up the facility at a new site. So let's break down this sentence into three parts. In some cases, a poor site restricts the facility or plant operations. So we have not been successful at the very onset in selecting the appropriate site. In the beginning we have done all kinds of analysis, but somehow because of certain dynamic scenario we were not able to find out that which is the best site, and now we are seeing that the site that we have selected was a poor site and it is restricting our plant operations, and it is also not able or susceptible for further expansions. So our operations are not being performed optimally and we are not able to expand our base also, or there is no place to expand our base. So thereby it necessitates setting up the facility at a new site. So there are two problems. First, the poor site selection resulting into non-optimal operations, and then whenever we want to expand our plant base or whenever we want to expand our facility, those kind of opportunities are not available in the site at which we are placed right now. So then we have to take a decision that what should we do. Then we are left with no other decision but to shift to a new site. So whenever this type of scenario arises, whenever we have to set up a new plant or our old plant is not manufacturing or not doing the operations according to our will or is not a profitable proposition, then we have to take a decision why not to shift this particular location to some other location. There are other reasons also for shifting that we will cover in the subsequent slide, but two important points to note here are that we have to take a decision regarding the location or plant location in two important ways. First is whenever we want to set up a new plant, and the second one is that whenever the old plant is not manufacturing properly or the operations are not optimal and there is no scope for further expansion of the plant, then we take a decision that yes, now it is a time to shift to a new plant location. The growing volume of a business makes it advisable to establish additional facilities in new territories. So, in capacity planning decision making, we have seen that whenever we do capacity planning, we have to see that on the basis of demand forecasts, we make a decision that yes, the demand is going to be more in 2009, 2008. I have given so many examples that how the companies make demand forecast. So, whenever there is a huge amount of demand that is being generated in the market, we have certain capacity constraints, and on those capacity constraints we cannot match the demand that is there in the market, or we cannot satisfy the demand that is being created in the market. So, then we have to do the expansion. So, the growing volume of business, we can say more demand is being generated, makes it advisable to establish additional facilities in new territories. Now, the company has made the decision that okay, we have four manufacturing plants which are not able to meet the demand that is there in the market, then additional facilities have to be set up. In those circumstances, we have to take a decision that where our new plant or new facilities should be located. Similarly, new economic, social, legal or political factors could suggest a change of the location of the existing plant. So, there are so many examples where the existing plants have been shifted from one place to another place because of these reasons that you see on your screen. I would like to give you an example here is that in certain areas or in certain cities, people were operating their small scale business units from their houses only. Now, these small scale business units generate a huge amount of noise and vibrations. The government has taken a decision that all these small scale plants that are operating from the residential areas should be shifted out to certain industrial areas, so that the life of the people who are living in those residential areas become a lot more better. So, this is the kind of a legal decision which has been taken and which has to be adhered to. So, it means that the facility or the location that was there in the residential area because of certain legal obligations has to be shifted to a industrial area. So, that has to be borne in mind, that has to be taken into account, that there are certain legal factors that may affect the location of the plant or the location of the facility. Then we can say there are other factors, some of these already we have seen: economic factors, social factors and as well as political factors. So, if political interference is much more in a particular state, the people may feel that okay, it is not right to do business here, let us shift our locality, our facility to a different locality in some other state. Similarly, there are other economic problems also. Certain times the rate at which the electricity is being supplied to the industry is also one of the factors which is governing the location of the industry. Similarly, there may be certain states where the electricity is being provided at a very nominal price, plus round the clock electricity is being provided to the industry. The people who are into the business would like to set up their plants in those states where uninterrupted electrical power supply is being put for those people who are coming to that particular state for setting up their business ventures. So, there are certain economic, social, legal and political factors which suggest that whether this location is better or there is some other location which would yield better returns on same kind of investment. So, when the investment is being done by the people or the businessman, they want that it should result into profit or the returns should be high. And on the basis of all these decisions, making a complete, comprehensive, exhaustive study, the business people or the company people are able to make a decision that in which particular area we should set up our plant. So, these are certain points which result into a decision related to the plant location or the facility location. Now, let us see the factors affecting the facility location study. Now, whenever we have seen that there are so many different factors or so many different criterion which are the guiding pillars or which are the guiding forces for any particular company to set up a plant in a particular locality. Now let's club these different factors into two broad factors. Now factors affecting the facility location study are, location studies are normally made in two phases. Now we have seen that there are so many factors, we cannot say verbally we have done a study or just in our mind we have done a study and we have decided that this facility is going to be the best facility in such and such area. This is not possible. A comprehensive study has to be carried out, seeing all the positive points as well as the negative points of our location. There may be certain positive points, there may be certain negative points as well, and then a trade-off has to be made that okay, there are certain negative points also in such and such area, in such and such location, but the positive points outweigh the negative points, and we will decide that okay, we are going to establish our company or our enterprise in such and such area. So there are so many factors on the basis of which we will do this study. So whenever we do the study, a comprehensive study, it can be divided into two important parts. So this can be the general territory selection phase, the general territory selection phase, and the exact site selection phase. Already I started today's lecture by giving you an example that if we want to set up our home, we have to see that whether we want to set up it in north zone or south zone or east zone or west zone of the country or a center zone of the country. So that amounts to the selection of the general territory, that in which territory I want to set up. Then the second point is the exact site selection phase. So if I have decided that yes, I want to be in the north zone, so the territory now is fixed that it is going to be north zone. Now within the north zone I will see that which are the cities where I can settle down, and then I will decide that okay, these are 5 different choices I have, which is the best choice according to me. I will do a analysis, I will see that this particular location is having these advantages and these disadvantages. Then coming on to the second location, I will see what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. Maybe I may be doing certain weightage analysis in which I will give relative weightages to all the positive and negative points, and then finally make a decision that this is the exact location where I want to set up or where I want to make my home. So this study has to be done in 2 different stages. So first stage is the general territory selection phase, and the second stage is the exact site selection phase. Now summarizing all the factors, the important factors to be considered for the selection of a territory and subsequent selection of a particular site. So in the previous slide we have seen that the study for selection of a location has to be done in 2 different stages. First stage is the general territory selection, and the second stage thereafter is the exact site selection or the exact location of the site. So what are the various factors that are considered in that? First is the market. So any industry that is being set up is set up for making profit. I have been repeating this thing 2 and 3 times. I have told that profit making is the first purpose of setting up a facility. So it has to be seen whether the market is there or not. It would not be advisable to set up a facility in such an area where the market is not at all available. So I mean to say is the customers are not available. If the customers are there, it is good. If the customers are not there, the location is bad, because the market is not there for the product for which we are setting up a facility. Then the second point is raw material and supplies. The transportation of the raw materials from their availability site to the processing site is a big issue. If we locate the industry in such an area where the raw material is easily available, the transportation is very cheap, the transportation cost is very less, and we know that the supplies have to go and there is certain route of supplies also available with us, then there are certain mathematical tools, maybe certain techniques, methods which help us to decide the appropriate location. on the basis of the distances, that we will see maybe in the subsequent lectures. But the distance of the raw material as well as the suppliers, that is also very important, and we have to optimize on that, that wherever we place our facility, the raw material as well as the supplier should easily be available. So just to give an example, if a very big industrial house is being set up, there are so many different small scale suppliers or vendors who set up their plants in the vicinity of that big plant, so that the transportation costs are minimized. So that is the kind of scenario or business scenario that is prevailing these days, because if suppose I set up a plant at point X and the person who is supplying the raw material to me or a sub assembly to me is located at the other part of the country, so the distance and the transportation cost will be too much. Instead, I would like to advise to that vendor is that he sets up a small plant in the vicinity of my big plant, so that the transportation cost is minimized. So the supplies of the raw material as well as the people to whom I want to sell my product should not be at a far flung places in order to optimize the transportation cost. So the market should be there, the raw material and the suppliers or the supplies should be easily available, then the transportation facilities should be there. I cannot think of setting up a plant in such an area where the transportation facilities are not available. I would like to see that the airport is there, I should be connected by air, the company should be connected by rail, the company should be connected by bus also. So all these three kinds, even if we want to do certain things, certain products that we are manufacturing have to be exported also, and these are very bulky products, I would see that the sea route should also be close to me, so that the transportation costs are minimized. So transportation facilities should be easily available. Then the climate of the region. The climate of the region also plays an important role in deciding the location. Already I have told, in case of textile industry, we want a very humid climate or humid environment which would not allow the yarn to break. So the climate also plays a very important role. In some of the industries we may require very low temperatures. So if we place that facility in an area where the temperatures are very high during the summers, then we have to do the artificial cooling or artificial air conditioning, which may add to the total operating costs of the plant. So why not to locate that facility in an area where the temperature do not rise to a very high level. So climate also plays a very important role in the decision related to the location of a plant. Similarly, the site size also plays a very important role. We cannot plan of setting up a facility which runs into acres in the middle of the city. So if the size of the plant is very high, we cannot think of setting up this facility within the city. It has to be at the outskirts or in the countryside only. Similarly, the community attitude plays a very important role. So overall, every area has certain inherent qualities, certain attitudes. So those attitudes also have to be taken into account whenever we have to make a decision regarding the location of a plant. Then there are other factors also that may also affect the facility location decisions. So what are these factors? These factors are manpower availability. This example already I have given, that if we place a plant in an area which is very poor or most of the people are below the poverty line, then we would very easily be able to provide employment to these people, and the rate at which we have to pay them may also be substantially less as compared to a very developed area. So manpower availability also is a very important point. Similarly, the land cost, already I have told. Waste disposal is also a very important issue whenever we think of environmental concerns, and the pollution. So all these factors also have to be considered when we take an appropriate decision, or whenever we want to take an optimal decision related to the location of our plant. So facility location decision making is a very important area and very important decision that a company has to make. So we will see that what are the requirements for setting up a plant in a countryside, what are the requirements of setting up a plant in a town or in a city. All those things we are going to see. Next lecture we would see that what are the facility design procedure. We will see that what are the different types of layouts like process layout, product layout, fixed position layout and cellular layout. We will also see that what is the layout selection problem and how do we solve this layout selection problem. Thank you.